This week on the Erotic Awakening Podcast, episode 744, 2025 review, polyamory terminology and goals. Welcome to Erotic Awakening, an exploration of all things erotic. If you are offended by adult topics or prohibited by law, it's recommended you stop listening right now. First, a heartfelt thank you to the amazing patrons of Erotic Awakening, each and every one of you. You are the reason this show still exists after all of these years. Your support keeps the conversation flowing, the education happening, and the community connected. I am deeply grateful to each and every one of you. A special welcome to our newest supporter, Joseph. Thanks for your support. If Erotic Awakening has supported you, inspired you, or helped you feel seen, I invite you to join in supporting this work so it can continue. Just visit patreon.com/eroticawakening. Every contribution matters. Hi, everyone. I'm Dawn, and I'm here this week to continue the conversation on power exchange, polyamory, sacred sexuality, and everything in between. Sorry to start with the patron ad right off the bat. I like to give a shout out to the supporters, to the new patrons, the ones that are financially helping this work continue. And I need to continue to do that because if I have to get a job in corporate America, that means all of this stops. So every dollar counts in helping me stay on the air, keeping the education going, and just all the things. So thank you guys. I don't know that you actually realize how important your $5 a month or $10 a month is. Anyway, enough of that. So 2025 in review. Well, those of you that have been listening know that big changes happened. Wow, I like how I said that. Big changes happened. And I'm going to do a little bit of review of it. And I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but a lot happened. So as many of you know, 2025 started out with me and Dan in Arizona. So we were still on the road RVing. We had gotten to Arizona with the express purpose of figuring out how to make 3 of us work instead of 2 of us. We started in Phoenix. We ended up in Yuma so that we could spend time with Kevin and Katie. We sold the RV because 3 of us could not fit in it, so we had to make other plans. And the plan was to minimize yet again and to do Airbnb living and figure out from month to month where we were going to be across the country based on events that we were going to present at, right? So while in Yuma, we actually stayed. Usually we just wintered there. The last 3 winters we wintered there, Dan and I. And then in the spring we would move on, we'd get antsy and move on and find events to do and usually do the Midwest loop at that point. Well, this time around, we decided to stay in Yuma and we found an Airbnb because it was off season and stayed spring and stayed summer. I was actually there until the end of July. So the days were like 115 degrees, but it was a dry heat. It was a dry heat. And even though it was hot, I actually liked the heat there much more than the Midwest, where it feels like you're breathing soup. So the humidity in the Midwest, yeah, hard on my body. So I actually liked it in Yuma in that sort of heat. Then at the end of July, surprise, there was a split. So Dan and I split at the end of July. And I had to figure out, what to do. I was trying to figure out how to word it. So split happened, surprise, and I got my shit together and left. So the next month, all of August, I visited family, visited friends, visited Big D, visited patrons, and just did a month of looping the country. And then a friend had given me space up in Chicago. So I stayed there for a couple of months. And organized. So I had taken that month off of August, took a month off the podcast, off of teaching, off of pretty much everything. And then while I was in Chicago, I kind of settled into a routine, got the podcast going again, changed the flavor of it just a little bit, right? Switched everything to just me, the website mostly, things like that. I also changed the theme of the classes that I'm teaching. So I'll still teach some polyamory, some power exchange, but I'm leaning more into healing in the dungeon. So it'll be more classes based on sacred sexuality, healing, things like that, priestess topping, all of that type of stuff. That's my passion. Again, I can still teach power exchange and polyamory and did so in those 3 months. Oh, let's see. Gosh, what else happened in 2025? I know that in the latter half of 2025, I realized how many friends I had and have. So much support, so much support, and a lot of women friends. I've not had a lot of women friends in my life, and now I have a good core of women friends and making more. So I love what 2025 brought to me in the end. I'm starting out 2026 with all of that, and it just feels amazing. So let's see. Before Chicago, I also spent some time in Columbus and spent some time with Karen, which is a former Metamor, and my kids, and Barrick and Sheba, and other locals. I've got some patrons that are in Columbus that I spent time with. And then, like I said, Chicago for a couple of months. And while I was in Chicago, people found out I was there. Well, I kind of advertised it too, because I was looking for things to do. And I knew I had Naughty Revival coming up in December. So I have led groups, led ritual, taught small classes, taught tons of classes, hundreds of classes with Dan over the last 20 years. Well, Naughty Revival was going to be the first time that I taught on my own 4 classes in a weekend. I wasn't really nervous, but I was curious as to how that was going to go. I mean, I know how to regulate my emotions, my energy, my pretty much everything. And the classes that I was going to teach that weekend, I have taught many, many times before. I rewrote a couple of them to focus on me, and then I taught them on Zoom to patrons and practiced that way. Before Naughty Revival, I also went to Elgin Munchers. So I vended there and taught an aftercare class. And then I went to Milwaukee Naughties and I taught that. Gosh, that was like 60 people. And what did I teach at Milwaukee Naughties? Negotiation, 6 styles of negotiation. So that was really cool to teach that on my own for the first time in front of people. And it went really, really well. And I got a lot of great feedback. So by the time Naughty Revival came along, I was ready. I knew I could do it. I had practiced on Zoom. I had practiced on some smaller groups. And I'm going to tell you, my classes were packed, standing room only, over 100 people in each class. And I kicked ass. Man, that's where I belong. I belong in front of people, presenting my experience, presenting what I have learned. And that means at some point I'm going to have a class on how to survive and thrive after a long-term, deeply committed power exchange breakup. I have to remember all the things that I've done to survive and thrive after this breakup. Mm. All right, so I left Columbus. No, I left Chicago. I knew I was only going to be there for 3 months because then the point was because I'm not ready to settle down. I wasn't ready to get off the road. So I left Chicago, went back to Columbus for a little bit, stayed with Karen for a few days, taught for the KIC group, which is Kink in Columbus. So I taught them tools for anxiety to prep them for the Cure event, which is happening this weekend. Wish I was going to that one. Oh, that's an amazing event. If you ever get a chance to do Cure in Columbus, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. And then I ended up in Delaware, which I am spending time with family. I am spending time with family, enjoying the ocean, enjoying the slower pace of this area. Okay, am I enjoying it? I am, I don't even know the word to use, enjoying it. It's a slower pace, which means I have to find things to do. I got used to being in Columbus and Phoenix and Chicago and Milwaukee and Madison and Minnesota, Minneapolis specifically, where there's munches all the time and things like that. Now I'm on the lower shore of Delaware and I found a munch, but it's in my hometown. And I really don't know if I want to go to a munch in my hometown. I have 57 cousins in this area, and I'm one of the youngest, which means I don't know all of the older cousins, which means they could end up at a munch. And oh no, no, I may go. I reached out to the person leading the munch and said, "Hey, you don't know me, but I'm in the area. This is my hometown." And she looked at my profile, and we have 7 mutual friends. So here in my hometown, we have 7 mutual friends, the leader of this munch group. And she's like, "No, come on out, come on out. I'll introduce you to people." And I'm like, "Oh, this could be interesting." Anyway, I think I'm gonna give that a try just because it's a new experience. Oh, anyway, so it's been a crazy, intense year. And it ended with me here with family, but my sister in the hospital. So I've been helping taking care of her. I'm glad I'm here. This is my first holiday with siblings in a while. So what does 2026 hold for me? I was going to say I don't have a clue, but in reality, I don't know where I'm settling or if I'm settling in 2026. Every time I think about settling down, I have FOMO. I have a fear of missing out. If I settle in Columbus, what am I missing in Chicago? If I settle in Chicago, what am I missing in Indianapolis and Tulsa and Kansas City and Phoenix and Albuquerque? If I settle in Albuquerque, which could be a possibility, how far am I from my siblings and Minneapolis and New York? So I'm really having this FOMO thing of, am I going to make the wrong choice of where I settle? And then I have to get into the mode of, well, I don't have to settle there forever. I mean, a part of me would love to settle and have a place with a podcast studio and a place to teach sword yoga and nidra yoga and chair yoga and all these things that I also like to do. Weekend retreats. I just, I have something in mind of what I want to do. I just don't know where I want to do it. And there's so many great communities around the country. I know so many people in these communities that I would love to spend time with. So if I wanted to, I could just go for a year and then move again and do it for a year. That's actually an exciting thought. I need to give that a little more thought. Anyway, I am already scheduling for 2026. This month, I'm going to finish helping my sister. February 1st, I have to be in Columbus for the women's leather panel. And then I have other things going on. I'm already mapping stuff out. Oh my gosh. I want to go, and I'm going to have to put it down that I am going to the International Balloon Festival in Albuquerque. I'm also looking at Comic Cons with, oh my gosh, what is his name? Alan Tudyk. And if I could find Nathan Fillion, I would absolutely be following him. And I found a couple with Will Wheaton. So, and Lou Ferrigno, who I've met before and would love to see again. I've put those on my calendar as well. So I'm going to be traveling. Anyway, let me just roll right into upcoming events. So if you would like to share a cup of coffee or conversation, I am totally up for that. I would love to meet people that listen to the show, new people, people that have listened for years. I would love to have coffee with you. I actually have one set up with a friend in Jersey tomorrow. So that'll be awesome. And then I was going to visit some up in Jersey, a couple up in Jersey. That got canceled, hopefully just postponed. I've got a few more weeks before I have to leave this area. Anyway, if you'd like to share a cup of coffee or conversation, here's where you can find me in person. I'll be in Columbus on February 1st for the Women's Leather panel, and I'll be there for about a week. And then February 6th through 8th, I'm going to be in Indianapolis for the Indie Rope Expo. I'll be vending there with my hooded blankets and Kickstarter cards. And then I've got a private event to do the weekend after that up in Toledo. So I'll be in that area for a little bit. And then back down to Indianapolis for Intrigue, February 27th through March 1st, where I'll be presenting and vending. I know I'll be in South Dakota in July for an event there. And then October is going to be a submissive retreat in Minnesota. Also in October is the Elgin Munchers. I'll be vending in Chicago. Also in October, I'll be doing a day-long intensive, I believe. I only started talking to her yesterday about this, so we're still planning, but that would be October in Madison. So keep up with all the places I'm presenting or vending, my online classes and intensives and retreats, book news discounts, and more via the Erotic Awakening newsletter. And get your EA shout out like Pebbles in the USA and Robert in Georgia. Head over to eroticawakening.com and subscribe today. Whew, all of that processing, and I was able to do that in a pretty positive space, which is amazing. And I am so glad because this journey, even though it got turned on its head, is still a journey, and I've still got to focus. Awesome. So how about a little bit of poly terminology? I'm actually on a Facebook polyamory group, and I swear to myself that I'm going to drop out of all of them. They, okay. I'm not going to pass judgment, just that they are not always for me for various reasons. We can have this conversation at a later time. I'm just going to fall right into some definitions of a few words, because it seems that people are using them to mean different things currently. And let's just throw some out there. Anyway, and I might do a series on this. There are so many new words in the polyamory lifestyle that I want to learn them as well now that I'm doing polyamory differently. I consider myself, and I think I put this on a previous show kind of recently, I consider myself solo polyamorous right now. That could change, but that's the label I have on myself right now on my Fet profile. And things are changing for me, so I need to learn the lingo again as well. So let's start with kitchen table polyamory. This is a style, and I know I've used it to mean something a little differently over the years, but I actually looked these up so that I give you the right terminology. So kitchen table polyamory. It's a style where partners and metamors are comfortable sharing space, like sitting at the same kitchen table. It's about openness and ease, and not everyone being close or involved. Now, the way I've used kitchen table polyamory over the years was me and Dan's other partner, my meta, would literally sit at the kitchen table and have Sunday meetings. And we would go over calendars, and we would go over who's taking care of the dog, and we would go over things like that. So kitchen table polyamory actually meant a little more to me because of my experience. The definition says you're able to sit at the same kitchen table. It's about openness and ease, and not everyone has to be close or involved. So yeah, that was still me and Karen. I would say we were doing kitchen table polyamory. Now, some people think that kitchen table polyamory is the utopia of polyamory. And when new partners come in, old partners are like, hey, we're kitchen table polyamory, so you have to be kitchen table polyamory. And the other person might be, no, actually, I'm parallel polyamory. Parallel polyamory, the relationships stay mostly separate with little or no interaction between metamors. It's an intentional boundary choice. So over time, I learned that I was more parallel poly with Dan's other partners. They were separate relationships. I didn't do a lot. Though I did like go to the movies with the big polypod. When COVID started, the polypod, all of us that were intertwined in some manner would go to the drive-in movies. We would sit in our lawn chairs out in front of our cars. We would wave down the aisle because everybody had to park 2 cars apart and things like that. So I have interacted in those ways. And then there's been some that the metamors just did not interact at all. And that's fine as well. There's no judgment on any of these definitions. These are just different styles. There is not one that is better than the other. So don't judge people if somebody's parallel and that works for them, and somebody else's kitchen table and that works for them. You do you. You are allowed to create the life that you want. You do you. Okay, so kitchen table polyamory, parallel polyamory. And then there is something called garden party polyamory. To me, this is a new term. I've only heard of this recently. It may have been around for a while. I have not been involved in the polyamorous community so much since Beyond the Love ended. And I haven't been on Facebook groups so much because of the judgment that I usually find on there. Anyway, garden party polyamory. Metamors are friendly and polite at shared events, but don't have ongoing personal relationships. Cordial without forced closeness. Just means everybody gets along. If we all went to a poly dance together, we would say hi, maybe sit at the same table, birthday parties, stuff like that. So garden party polyamory. There is also solo polyamory, which is what I'm considering myself right now. Even though mine and Dan's ended, I still have relationships with other people and creating more. Solo polyamory just means I am my own primary. I have no interest in having my other partners ride the relationship escalator. Big D, we've been together for 12 years, but I don't see me moving in with him, moving close to him. Well, he's a full-time RVer, so it'll be hard to move close to him. But it's shifting a little bit. It doesn't mean it's going to ride the relationship escalator. I think I mentioned on a previous show that I actually mentioned to his wife, I brought up, hey, just because I don't have a primary anymore except myself does not mean I have an interest in changing my relationship drastically with Big D. I've had that happen to me with metamors, and I have no interest in doing that to someone else. I'm concentrating on me in my poly journey. Then there's relationship anarchy. This is, and I never understood a lot about the draw of relationship anarchy simply because I was in a hierarchical relationship that fed me completely. So I didn't really understand relationship anarchy. But that's okay. New experiences. Relationship anarchy is an approach where relationships aren't ranked or defined by social rules. Each relationship is shaped by the people in it based on consent and mutual choice. A lot of what I know from people that practice relationship anarchy is that they don't like labels, they don't like expectations. Maybe that could probably be argued. I would actually like to interview someone on relationship anarchy. I may have done it in the past. I mean, the show's 17 years old. There's probably a lot of stuff I did in the past that I don't remember, but I would actually like to talk to someone that is living a successful relationship anarchy style polyamorous relationship. That would be really cool. So there's your random polyamorous terminology for today. And like I said, I think I'm going to turn this into a small series. If nothing else, I'm learning stuff as well. Now, let's go into goals. And I'm going to keep this really short because I've been talking a lot on this show. Goals for 2026. Now, if you've been on any of my calls where I show off my list and my book of list, I have so many projects that I really want to invest time in, and I don't want to forget that I want to invest time in them. I keep all kinds of lists. I have some major goals for 2026 that I want to make happen. Now, those are my big, big goals for 2026. I'm kind of curious if you guys have any big goals. Now, I'm always going to have big goals. But what I wanted to concentrate on actually for 2026 was each month focus on a small goal that helps me get organized. I'm not sure how to describe this, but I need to get into a new pattern with my life. So I need a couple of small goals each month that help shift me into that new pattern. For example, I have a gym membership. Before the split, I was going to the gym every day. I was exercising 3 times a day. So the gym was one, water exercise was every other day. I was triking every other day. I don't have those options anymore. The I'm stumbling because I don't have the trike option anymore because I had to sell my trike. I didn't have a way to bring it on the road with me that I could figure out quickly. I could do water exercises, and I absolutely have a membership to the gym. I know how to do the gym. It has just been a matter of I've been trying to organize my life, and the gym has not been a priority. Well, for my mental health, I need to get back to the gym. I like it when I go to the gym. I'm paying for a membership to the gym. There is one about 7 miles from here. I do Planet Fitness. There's one about 7 miles from here. And when I'm done with this podcast, while it is uploading to the editor, I'm going to go to the gym before I do anything else. And did I write that down so that I don't forget? I did. And I circled it so that I remember to dress for the gym. So my 2 minor goals, which are actually huge goals, is getting to the gym at least a couple of times a week to get back into that pattern. And the other one is going to sleep on the same day that I wake up. I have a habit of getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning and not going to bed until 3 o'clock in the morning. So I have a series of days where I only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, and that is not good for me or anyone around me. Anyway, those are my 2 small goals that are actually huge goals. I'll share my big, big goals later. Now, if you want to keep up or share your goals or get support with your goals, join our Discord channel because I just created 2 new channels on our Discord server. I have a channel on there for health where we're talking back and forth about our health goals. And I have a channel for just overall goals where we're keeping track. A few of us are keeping track of some overall goals for the years or just in general. Links to the Discord server can be found on eroticawakening.com. All right, let's wrap this up. Currently, I can be found at Dawn_Awakening or Erotic_Awakening on Fetlife, Erotic Awakening on Instagram, EA Podcast Dawn on TikTok, or just email me at dawn@eroticawakening.com. Be a part of the Erotic Awakening podcast community. You can become a patron of the show and get early access to the podcast, a free copy of the audiobook Polyamory Toolkit, free ebooks, discounts on monthly Zoom classes, member-only Discord access, and more. Find all the goodies at patreon.com/eroticawakening today. And help others find Erotic Awakening. Give us high ratings wherever you listen to the podcast. And most importantly, tell your friends about the show. Join the conversation with other listeners. Use the links from the Erotic Awakening website for our interactive Discord channel. Until next time, may your journey be filled with passion, joy, and a bit of naughtiness. Bye, everyone. Meow, meow, meow.